Good evening and welcome to the Pastor's Message. I'm Bishop Larry D. Palmer, Senior Pastor of Israel Total Life Ministries, and I want to share with you today a message concerning domestic violence. Today we're thinking about Judges 19, which has a message to us that regards domestic violence. This story begins with a Levite that had a concubine, and his concubine left him and went to her father's house for 4 months. After 4 months, this Levite decided to travel and go and retrieve her and bring her back home. Once he got to his father-in-law, as it says in the scriptures, home, he asked to return with his concubine, and his father-in-law asked him to stay for several days. He did so, but on the 5th day, he decided to come back home with his concubine. As much as his father tried to encourage him to stay there, they decided to leave. His servant that went with him to retrieve his concubine said, "Master, let's stay in Jebus." He said, "We can't stay there because the Jebusites are not our type of people. We only stay with those who are Israelite in type. So let's travel onward to the next town." And so they did. And when they got to the next town, they found that no one welcomed them, with the exception of one man that was from Ephraim, the same place that he was coming from. He stayed with this man that evening, and as soon as the man got him into his home, the men of the town came out and said, "Let us have this man that's in your home." He said, "I cannot. He's a guest of mine. We want him to come out because we want to come to know him." In other words, they wanted to have sex with him. Sort of like the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. The man answered, "Well, I have a concubine and I have my virgin daughter that I would give to you." They didn't want either of those. They wanted the man. So the guest said, "Look, I'll give you this concubine." They took the concubine. Unfortunately, they had their way with her all night long, several of the men, and then they sent her away, and she came back home to the guest house, and she was at the steps the next morning when this Levite got up. He looked out and saw his concubine, and he looked at her with no compassion at all and told her, "Get up, it's time to go." She couldn't get up, so he picked her up and put her on the donkey. They left. The Bible says when they returned home, the Levite then, the next day, took a knife, cut her up into 12 pieces, and scattered her body all over Israel. This is a case of domestic violence. It leads to tell us that domestic violence comes from an evil source. The evil source began far on the road with the men wanting to abuse another man. The evil source came from him drawing his knife. The evil source came from him not having compassion. Many of the domestic violence acts that happen today are for the same reasons. It was biblical times, but such as it is today. God bless you, and I hope you enjoy the pastor's message.